Good day, everyone. I am Erica Santiago, and I will report about Woman Enough by Carmen Guerrero Nakpil. Carmen Guerrero Nakpil was born a feminist and embraced this by her writings. Particularly, Woman Enough is an essay on the Filipina that became a salvo for feminism, writes her daughter Gemma Cruz Araneta in this fragrant article on her mother whom she fondly misses. Very early in life, Carmen Guerrero Nakpil learned that the most obvious kind of feminism is by being the youngest and the only girl in the family of a dominant, lordly male. Her father described as a gallant of the old school. Her father treated her with unabashed partiality simply because girls were not expected to get better grades than the boys, or keep their word and their temper. Her pampered upbringing did not prepare her for the Battle of Manila, during which she lost the love of her life, Ismael Cruz, as well as her childhood friends and all her material possessions. Both her parents and the two older brothers survived, but they all were destitute. She was a war widow at 22, with no income and two babies to feed. But, like the proverbial phoenix, she rose intrepidly from the ashes of the war. That was probably why she wrote Woman Enough in December 1951, her first essay on the Filipino woman. Unwittingly, Woman Enough became a salvo for feminism. The Philippine Quarterly, one of the first glossiest, asked Mrs. Nakpil to contribute to its March 1952 Women's Month. She wrote The Filipino Women, a more mysterious piece which delved into the historical roots of why Filipino women are enough. She has a long unburied past, said Mrs. Nakpil intriguingly. There have been three men in her life: her Asiatic ancestor, the Spanish friar, and the Americano. Like Chekhov, the darling, she echoes all the men she has known in her person. That made the Filipino women heterogeneous and unpredictable. At an age in which the only sign of femininity is in my spare, dark, cropped-eared frame, where the little wire hoop strung through my pierced ears, I discovered that if I invoked my womanhood loudly enough, I always bested anyone foolish and masculine enough to get into an argument with me. The only girl in the family of dominant lordly males, I learned that the most obvious kind of feminism very clearly in life. My father, a gallant of the old school, always decided any quarrels between my brothers and myself with an unabashed partiality to me for the reason that she is the only girl. I received the fattest cushion to sit on, the place at table farthest from the fattest draught and closet to the serving dishes, the largest allowance, the coolest room in the house, the least discipline, the most praise. I could provoke, nag, and tease my brothers with my impunity, because chivalry, very much reluctant in their case, forbade them to strike a woman, even an impossible brat of 7. In the fierce familiar rivalry involving our school report cards, I was allowed a handicap of 10 points in arithmetic, because it was assumed that, being a girl, I would be weak in the head. I lied. I broke my word, flew into unexplained rages, comforts denied my brothers, because my father, a man of the world, expected that kind of behavior from a woman. During the Great Piri War, earthquake in Manila, My brothers, grunting and groaning, and considerably more frightened than I, were made to carry me down 2 flights of stairs to safety while I lay in a and lady faint. I had, by that time, grown into a large, imposing 5'7", at which altitude I often found it rather taxing to be feminine. But I had a lot of practice. As a journalist in a man's world, I realized what a great teacher my father was. There is a notion abroad that newspapermen are chivalrous louts. They are not. The editor apologized for every distasteful assignment he gave me. The motorful man allowed me to driven off in his only available vehicle. Foreign correspondents waited for me all evening, while their news sources took me out to dinner. Of course, there were times when I would have to stagger through the newsroom carrying a vast, antique typewriter or a bundle of files, while a dozen newsmen in the same room never even took their feet off their desktop. But, even for a woman, I am very reasonable. I could see why a man who comes up to my chin sometimes feels, through no fault of mine, rather unnecessary. It is said that all devout Jewish men begin their day by giving thanks to God that they were not born women. An early Greek philosopher wrote that he thanked God for 4 favors. One of them that he was born a man and not an animal, and another that he was born a man, not a woman. These are sentiments which all men claim, although with less formality. But I cannot help feeling that men are being disingenuous if they are glad to be men. Why do they always have to push one another into being men? Be a man? Or, aren't you a man enough? A cliché of masculine conversation. No one ever has to remind a woman to be a woman. For, what every woman knows is better left unsuspected by all men. And even the least of us is always woman enough.